Hello there. My name's Mark, aka The Canardian, and this is episode 44 of the Holocron Chronicles. We're going to go until my voice gives out. I am getting off the worst week of vacation sickness ever, so bear with me if this is a little bit rough sounding, but I am joined, as always, by my much better sounding co-host, Charlie Carden. Charlie, how you doing?
Well, I don't know about that, but I am pretty dreamy. 4 out of 5 dentists will agree.
And
Wait
modest.
a second. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, 4 out of 5 something or other. I don't know. Not ex-wives, because I don't have 4 of those. But yeah, no, I'm good. It's Monday, but we did have some Star Wars news today. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about The Last Jedi today, so all kinds of fun. So, there's all kind of stuff in the chamber. We're going to be good.
Absolutely. But before we get to any of that, I have to introduce a guest I am so excited to have on the show. This has been a long time coming. I'm a big fan. I hope you are too. Alan from Level Up Sabers, welcome to Holocron Chronicles.
I'm excited that we finally got to make this happen. How you doing, Internet? Happy Monday.
I hope they collectively just said they're doing great, and I hope you're doing great as well. Thank you for joining us again. I want to know a little bit about you, and then we're going to get into your Star Wars origin story. So tell us a little bit about the friendly neighborhood Master Alan.
So I'm a martial arts instructor by trade, and I have been for a very long time. And the friendly neighborhood Master Alan bit started at the beginning of COVID when we had to sort of lock down our group classes and some other things. So I started churning out martial arts instructional content for our students that were all like, okay, we have to spend X amount of weeks at home now. And so like that generated our YouTube channel. And then that just became sort of like my sign off was, and this is your friendly neighborhood Master Alan, blah, 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 blah. And so then I brought that with me to TikTok when I started that. And then I accidentally went viral and everything has basically been stumbling in since then.
I like that accidentally gone viral thing. Like you just blew up on TikTok. It's been amazing to follow and just see some of the TikTok celebs and other like real celebs who have like connected with you, or I've seen you stitch with, or they've like done some stuff. And then of course, like if you're like me and you follow lightsaber spinners and cosplayers and stuff, like you pop up all the time. But like, what has that been like? That explosion? It's so cool.
I don't have words. So like I worked for a marketing company for a little while. So like one of the things about being a martial arts instructor is that there's not a lot of money in it. And so then you go through periods of time where you have to like have some kind of a crappy day job or a less crappy day job, depending. Right. But so I was working for a marketing company for a little while, and over again, part of the company's advice to people would be, be active on social media, be interactive on social media, because going viral is just a company making sort of event. And I experienced that many times and heard it many times from that perspective. I had never been on the receiving end. And so like the Christmas of 2020, like right, it was 2 days before, 3 days before, something like that. I had a video get 100-something thousand views in like 36 hours. And so I went from like, oh, okay, I've added sabers to my site. I'm doing a thing. This is pretty interesting. Like, cause it was originally a training site and I had added product, and some person had done a video where they were in their room sort of moving a stick around because it was COVID. We were all stuck at home and everybody was doing like weird short videos, stuff like that. Anyway. And I was just like, I can make that funny. And so I stitched it, and that was born better than a stick. And I sold out of my inventory. Like everything that I had on hand was sold out in less than 12 hours of that video going out. Shit. And it just kept going. It just kept like for days and days and days. And it like, I got out of the weekend and I was just like, this got seen 250,000 times. And then it kept going. Holy crap. And so like, it's like I gave it a little bit and then I placed a reorder with my manufacturer to be able to fulfill all this stuff that was just like, oh my God. So like I placed a reorder that was everything I needed plus, 100% on top of that. And then it was still going. So like 10 days later, Jesus. That had sold out too. Like, And so then I had to place another resupply order before the one even got there
Jesus.
because of not having expected that type of burst and that type of community response and everything else. So I went from like, oh cool, I have 3,000 followers on TikTok, this is great, this is really neat. I had a video that hit 1,000 views, I was super proud of myself, brushed my shoulders off.
Hell yeah.
And then that happened, and before the end of that January I was up over 10,000 people. And then like once you've done that, like once you've hit a number like that, then it's easier to reach a big audience again. And you have a built-in credibility when somebody's discovering you for the first time to be like, oh, well, this person's consistent, this person's credible, this person is approved of. And so then they're more likely to hit the follow button. And so it goes and goes and goes. I broke 100,000 earlier this year and I still can't wrap my brain around that.
You're gonna hit 110 soon. I think you're inching closer
that
to
like
that. It's
107, something like that. Yeah.
Well, I thought it was 108 the last time I checked, actually. But
God, it's
you're probably
entirely
right.
possible. It's been a weird week.
It's amazing. It's great to see, because in your videos you come off as a very open, very generous guy with any kind of information. You're pretty much just, what you see is what you get, or that's what it seems. You're very forthright with information. You don't hold anything back. You're like, this is me. Here's why your order's coming late. It's because it's just me. Here's my
I've been
stock.
sick.
Here's my inventory. Here are my kids helping me load a car. Like it's all this kind of behind the scenes stuff that I love to see, as like, and like, if my lightsabers a week delayed or 2 weeks delayed, I'm like, I go on TikTok and I'm like, oh shoot, Alan's sick, or like his kid stubbed their toe or something. I'm like, stuff happens like that. That's it. But I love that transparency. And you find that kind of stuff is working for you too. Like, is that one of the things that people grab onto?
It has to be part of it. Like if I pretend that it's not a contributing factor, that would be ridiculous, right? Like it's the proof that it is a person and not, because especially with lightsabers, there's a lot of predatory advertising that happens where like there are a lot of companies that scrape YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, and they'll get a video of somebody and then use that video to advertise, like, generally it's like a dropship product. And so what they do is it's like they use somebody else's video, use text to talk about the features of their saber without ever actually showing their product. They get everybody's money, they throw it all into a database, they hand the database off to their manufacturer, and disappear. Like that's
Wow.
and lightsabers are not the only industry that this takes place. There's a lot of stuff now that, like, it pops up, it goes. Sorry about that. I'm being assaulted by a fly. But like, and there are many like sort of side hustle focused or whatever you want to think of, like books or blogs or other things that provide the playbook on how to do that fairly easily. And the whole recipe is like, you don't have to provide customer service because you're not still going to exist 6 months later.
Right.
And it's intentional. And so like when there's that much sort of, predatory capitalism, for lack of a better word, or whatever, like that, it's being able to be the person that is just like, no, it's me. If you got a question, if you got a problem, it's me. How do we get a hold of you? There's not a contact form on the website. This is what a website looks like when you go viral by accident. And it started as a training site, and then your training site broke. And so now you're an e-commerce site, except you never intended to be. So there's a whole bunch of like web design stuff that isn't optimal for what you are now, because it's not what you were supposed to be. It just sort of happened by accident, and it's just you. So when stuff on the website breaks, like you do some like hiring out of people and things like that. But there's also like, it's in a retail business, your months are very like, you got highs and lows. And so you don't have enough sustained revenue to keep a permanent person. And then more of how the sausage is made. So like, I'm a partial owner, not an employee. And so the way that Level Up is incorporated, I don't get paid for my hours. I don't get paid a salary, anything like that. It's whatever whatever level up clears over a certain amount gets cut 4 ways and split between my 3 investors, who are all awesome people who have, day jobs and investment portfolios and all kinds of stuff that I don't. Well, I have a day job, obviously, but like I'm not sitting on assets that either are already liquid or could easily be liquidated to start a business with me.
Right.
And so that's like, it's a whole lot of work, but it's also like, even as prominent as Level Up has become on TikTok, I think I'm the largest by following lightsaber brand on TikTok, for whatever that trophy is worth. But like for all of that, it's not remotely approaching like, oh man, I really have to think about whether or not I'm going to hang up my belt at the dojo to double down on this, because it's not it's not remotely close to that point yet.
Well,
maybe someday.
Right on.
But
yeah, hopefully, I hope it keeps growing, and I hope you continue to find success in it, because one, I love watching the videos, and two, I am a big fan of the sabers. So you can see mine.
Nice,
if you're not watching the video, go subscribe. Great power up. I have modified it. I just added the leather wrap and some black paint. I got the silver one, so it's
I like great. The detailing in the grooves. There have been a couple of people that have done that with their sabers, and it's like I really like the way that it gives it some personality.
It instantly added personality, and I did mock-ups of a couple of designs just like on my iPad, just literally coloring it in just to see like,
test it out,
do I want to paint the rings like on the outside? Do I want to paint the inside? Like the saber customization, there's so much to it for personalization. Like you could literally have 1 or 2 things on your site and just have people modify them or modify them yourself. But like you have a ton of offerings, and you're showing some off right now, which is awesome.
This is coming to the site a couple of days after the podcast drops. If that looks an awful lot like a Lego saber, it's because that's what it.
I was just gonna say, is that the Lego saber? Charlie, he's speaking your language right now. Lego Star Wars.
I can see that. I can also see in black. Well, let's Mark, for the sake of time, let's talk about some other Star Wars stuff.
Sure. Do you have one more that's coming soon?
Do you want me to tease it now, or do you want me to tease it later in the show?
Oh, let's get that one later. Let's get people to stick around for
We'll do a late reveal. People are going to freak out about that one. It is
a late reveal. Okay,
one of my 3 most requested.
Okay,
the things that people have been looking for.
Stick around, folks. Most requested saber coming up. Let's get into your Star Wars origin story. First off, how did you get into Star Wars?
I was a little kid, and we had them on VHS, and they're freaking awesome. Like that's right. And that's where most of us are.
All right.
Right. Yeah. Like I was a kid and we had them on VHS. We had these HBO bootlegs.
That's more Charlie's.
And then later on the special edition VHS, when those came out, like I was in middle school, early high school, somewhere in there. But yeah, so like, and there's, for many people, like the Fox fanfare is like a part of their Star Wars experience, right? And so there's an HBO like title splash where the camera basically like flies over kind of a city, and it's like a miniature mock-up to then get to the HBO, like, a
little theater,
right?
Well, that's the one version. The other is the big like.
The letters and the light
the
and
HBO and the stars falling down. So yeah. Oh yeah.
But it's like that's part of my Star Wars experience. Like that's part of my Star Wars memory, and it's a little bit like if you have for anybody that has not had a record player, if you have an album with a scratch on it and you're playing the crap out of the album, like the spot where the scratch is becomes a part of your experience of the album that nobody else has, right? And so like the HBO. Like lead-in splash is a part of my Star Wars memory that it was many, many years later that I like it dawned on me that that was because we recorded it from the television. Like other people had the right, and it's like not everybody. That's not a part of it for everybody.
Right.
Your Disney Plus experience is missing that scratch, is what you're saying.
It's one of those things where it's just like, oh yeah, that's why. Okay.
Yeah. What's your favorite movie? You don't have to stick to OT, but you can any movie, and it doesn't even have to be, it could be Rogue One, whatever. It doesn't have to
It
be
is
in the
it is
Skywalker Saga.
truly difficult for me to choose between The Last Jedi and A New Hope.
All right,
That is because I love them
varied
for
choices.
very different reasons.
Okay,
Because like New Hope, obviously for many of us, New Hope was our introduction. But it's also like it is the most standalone of all the films,
absolutely,
right? Like
yeah,
it is the most
because they
completed thought,
didn't know if they were ever going to be able to
Mhm.
make anything ever again. Like not even a
right?
Star
Mhm.
Wars movie. Like George Lucas was like, I might be working in a gas station after this. Who knows? Like
Which was
it
Worked
rough in
out
the
for him.
'70s with the gas crisis. He
worked
wouldn't have
out
been doing
okay
it
for
for
him.
him.
Yeah. We'll get to your love for The Last Jedi in a little bit. So I'm going to skip over to your favorite character.
Ugh. And so again, I love characters for different reasons. And so like that gets to be really difficult because it's like, well, like, there's this and da 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 da. Because like, when I was a kid, Luke was very, very high on my list. As I have gotten older and as I have spent most of my existence as a teacher, I've got a really soft spot for Yoda. Because
Mm.
Yoda has had so much patience for some incredible dumbasses that I
Almost
really
1,000 years of dumbasses.
like. I
875 years.
really appreciate Yoda's patience, because it's like,
The meme is my favorite of like becoming a parent. I finally understand why Yoda listened to like 2 days worth of Luke's questions and just rolled over and died.
uh,
Right.
Like instead of just no,
Dies.
I'm done. Good night.
That's it.
Fade into the Force. Um,
and there are many people that talk about Yoda's conversation with Anakin in Revenge of the Sith, and they're like, no, well, he tried to tell Yoda, and Yoda was like, dude, suck it up. And I'm like, you didn't listen to that conversation at all,
hmm.
because in that conversation, Anakin is like, so, Master Yoda, my friend was having this problem and needed some advice. I'm paraphrasing, but it's that thing where it's just like, it's obviously
Mhm.
you. This is
Yeah.
obviously bothering you a lot more than you're saying, and you're not providing me enough information to help you. And so you can shit or you can get off the pot, but either way, like, I can't do this anymore. Right. And so Anakin is like, I need to generically ask for help without providing specifics. And then Yoda is like, well, here's some generic advice that would be helpful if you were thinking about this the right way. Now you're not, because your last name is Skywalker, but if you were, this would be useful. And then Anakin is like, all right, peace out. And Yoda's like, fear is your problem. Like Yoda reaches out one more time, like trying to get Anakin to figure out that he's thinking about it wrong. And then Anakin basically hears, okay, Master Yoda said he can't help me, so fuck this. I'm gonna go and become a fascist. Like
It's the
whatever.
only way.
Those were the
As it
options.
happens, Yeah.
Those were the options.
Yeah.
Let Padme die, or not tell the Jedi Masters anything and go into a school with a weapon. There was option A and option B, and there was no option C because Skywalker, right? And
Yeah. Emotional damage, a family story.
and then
That's
Empire
yeah.
Strikes Back, right? Like it gives you new appreciation for when Luke is like, "No, I have to go," and Yoda is like, it's a trap and you're gonna die.
Not again. Yeah.
And Luke's like, no, I have to do it. And Yoda's like, you are your father's son.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank God there's another one. All right. Yeah, go
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
off.
My goodness.
If you had some force powers, would you go light side or dark side?
I did a video about this. It was very popular. I don't want it.
Okay.
I don't want it because there's two options and they both suck. And so if you have a force power, you have the power to reshape reality to suit your purposes. And so your options are to follow the path of the authoritarian dictator or be Spider-Man. And the cool part of being Spider-Man is that you get to be Spider-Man. But the problem with being Spider-Man is that you have to be Spider-Man. And I don't want to have to be Spider-Man. I don't want to have to, like, value other people equally to my family. I don't want to have to, I don't want to have to, because like people mistake detachment as being that you don't have anybody that you care about. And it's like, no, detachment is you've got to have the same amount of compassion for everybody, even if they're assholes. Even if they're not your family, even if they're not your blood, even if you're not friends, even if they're a stranger, you have to have the same amount of compassion for them. That's part of that. I don't want to have to, because that's hard, and that's harder than I want to have to do it. But to be a user of the dark side is worse, because everybody is either an obstacle or a tool,
right?
And those are your options.
Right.
Like,
is that, I love that argument. However, is that a Jedi Sith thing or a light side dark side thing? Because I think you could have a light side without the strictness of the Jedi code, which may solve some of your problems.
But then what's the point in the power? If you want to have enough power that it's like, no, I'm going to take care of this group of people, and that's what I'm going to care about.
Right.
But not everybody. Right. So if you think about superheroes, like Spider-Man's destiny is to go from being the hero of New York to the hero of the world.
Right.
Because no matter how much he can do, his powers provide him the opportunity to do more than he could physically do with his time. And so Spider-Man's destiny is ultimately to have the entire world be his problem. Because otherwise, if it's like, no, I can handle New York. I can do this. I can handle New York. But then if something happens in DC and he's seeing that on the news and he had a really slow day in New York, he's going to see that and go, crap.
Yeah, it could have been in DC. Yeah.
Right. And so if you want the power, but you only want to use it for a small group of people, or you only want to use it in a small place or whatever, in my opinion, what's the point? And if you want to have the power with the intention of not using it, that is functionally the curse of the Jedi, because you're going to have it and not want to use it.
Yeah.
Because if people aren't assholes, you don't have to.
Right.
And so, like, then that's the curse. That is the curse of power, is that you're either going to perpetually be in a position where it's like, man, I could have done a little bit more.
That sounds like the Bendu's curse of he just wants to be the middle. He wants to be left alone. Do not drag me into this. I don't want this gift. I don't want your war. I don't want this. Just piss off and leave me in the desert. I'm the Bendu. Go away. And that's very much so. I think we've got a Bendu.
The big turtle.
If you just woke up tomorrow with force powers, I think we've got a Bendu on our hands. I think that's the first one we've heard.
Big old turtle from the Neverending Story. What was that dude's name?
Fantastic.
Yes.
That was him.
Yes.
That was him. That's the one.
I don't want
There's
these
your
problems.
obligatory 80s reference. And let's illustrate, since Spider-Man was so discussed, that today is August 1st. 2022, the Spider-Man Day around the world, 60th anniversary of the character, August of 1961. Yeah, I was telling my wife about this, and she's like, "Go talk about it on your podcast." I said, "But it's Star Wars." She's like, "I said I'll still find a way to make it work." And you know what? I didn't think that I would, but organically we did. Let's keep going.
Anakin is Spider-Man turned inside out.
Ouch!
Oh,
yeah, I guess
I like that.
Does somebody have the clapper monkey in the background? Because I keep hearing what sounds like chimes.
It's my dog.
Oh, okay.
They're trying to be let
I just
out.
assumed Santa Claus lived at your house.
There you go.
Jingle bells.
Go with that. I like that idea. Seems like
this next question is more up your alley. Lightsaber color of choice.
I like to film with yellow, but it's hard to film.
Right, it is. Yeah.
It's because you have to get a yellow that is either pretty green or pretty orange for it to not look white on camera.
Yep.
Green is a good one. Same thing. So like my answer to this question is heavily shaped by how easy it is to get it to show up as that color on a digital camcorder, like on a phone, right?
In your heart, what's your favorite lightsaber?
Green has been my favorite color for forever. Like one of the reasons why I loved Luke in Return of the Jedi is because he had a green lightsaber, and so like as a child, green was one of my favorite. Part of how I ended up with this particular hat is in part because it's green, and like primary colors, I'm going to be on camera, all that kind of stuff. But also, it has the yellow that ties in with the logo, so like it works with my logoed merch, and I didn't have to like commission a hat. Side note: anybody from Boston Scallycap, if you are listening to this podcast, if you guys could bring back the master, that would alleviate the most frustrating problem that I have for Level Up at the moment, which is that this is the only one of these hats that I have, and I can't get another one because they don't carry it anymore. And so, Boston Scally, please bring back the master.
All right,
You'll find that hashtag on my TikTok every now and then.
Boston, deliver. Favorite affiliation. So this is a new question. We've been bouncing this one around a little bit.
Okay.
This is any single affiliation across the galaxy, whether it's Jedi, bounty hunters, Sith, rebels, Ewoks. I don't care if they're a group, you can hang with them. Who you choosing?
All Ewoks.
I mean, like
the Star Wars Twitter account just asked a few days ago, like, where would you want to vacation in Star Wars? I was like, Kashyyyk, hanging with Wookiees, hiking trails, lots of swimming space, temperate climate. Let's do this.
good
Who's
food,
roasted on Mustafar?
like
Yeah.
I like to think
Anyway,
of Han Solo as Chewie's rescue human.
100%.
And Chewbacca is one of my favorite characters in all of the stories, because not only is Chewie in so many of the movies, but like Chewie has this air of like watching his rescue human do a good job and being proud of him, like it's, you know, like that kind of thing. And that's like, I love that energy for Chewbacca. So I'd like Kashyyyk, maybe the Wookiees. I like mixed feelings about the Jedi, because on one hand, I think it would be really interesting. On the other hand, I think if I had the Force, like as previously discussed, like the last thing in the world I would want is a Padawan, because I don't want to have to deal with somebody that was as dumb as I was in my 20s. And so I would end up with some tryhard that wanted to do a lot at the wrong time instead of a little at the right time. And so, like, if I feel like if I set foot into the Jedi Temple, some series of amusing events would result in my getting stuck with like an Anakin in Potentia, and I want no part of that. Let me see. Mandalorians seem like they don't have enough fun. Like, that doesn't seem like it would be a good party. I would want to party with Lando. That's it.
Hell yeah.
I want to travel
Capes
the galaxy
for days.
with Lando. That is,
You know that, absolutely. I hear it.
Yeah. There we go. Party with Lando. Book it.
All right. Yeah, I'm in.
Very
I'm
nice.
in for that. That one, that sounds like a party and a half.
Lando and Chewie, I'm in. That would be great.
Hell yes. All right, let's jump into the news. Charlie, you wanna take a few of these?
Do I? Well, let's see. First and foremost, no, you take the first one. I'll talk about the second one because I just got juicy with this. But yeah, you take the first one.
I will take the first one, and the first one I'm just going to touch on it very quickly. So Lawrence Kasdan was just kind of talking on the what was it, the Industrial Light and Magic thing.
Oh yeah,
I haven't watched it all.
I think I've seen the first
I've been
part
too
of it, yeah.
tired to watch anything other than Paw Patrol. Is what it is. But basically said that he'd love to come back and do something in Star Wars, and he would love to revisit Solo, a Star Wars story, and like write Solo 2. Doesn't want it to be a Disney Plus show. Doesn't want it to be a series. He wants straight up Solo 2. That is.
I'm in. Where do we send the money for the Kickstarter?
I guess. Right.
I was just gonna say I will kickstart this. Like,
we have Glover back. If Glover's in it, I'm in.
Oh yeah. You could even do just Lando and not even Solo 2 and have like, you know, Han as a cameo. I'd even be down for that. Yeah, I was so down on this movie when I heard that they were reshooting the whole thing and they fired the Lego guys, and it was such a mess that I ended up being like, poo, not going to see this. Like, I'll wait till it comes out. And it was like one of the biggest Star Wars regrets in my life because I loved every freaking second of it. And to hear that Lawrence Kasdan saying the same thing and would like to come back and like write Solo 2, like that's okay, cool. Yeah, there's some stuff there. And, like, just that's pretty amazing. So, what you guys are on board with that as well?
Oh, fully. Heist movie in
Without a doubt.
space. Ocean's 11 in Star Wars.
Yep.
That's what Solo 2 could be. That's what any Solo Lando movie could be, and like the Ocean's franchise in Star Wars. And that could be
Yes.
amazing. Like
I keep
absolutely amazing.
saying, I keep saying on the show that I want Star Wars to take the big page out of the Marvel book, and Marvel always does different genre movies. Like if you just saw Thor: Love and Thunder and expected that to be anything other than a goofy comedy because it's told from Korg's point of view, who's a goofball, like
Right.
you're going to the wrong movie. But like you can also have a heist movie and a dramatic thriller and a sorcery wizard movie, and it's like they all somehow fit in the universe, but they're all vastly different movies. Let's do that with Star Wars. Let's have a heist movie and a this movie and a that movie and Fast and the Furious in space with those crazy kids from Boba
Resistance.
Fett. Like,
yeah.
let's friggin' do it. I don't know.
Yeah. All together now.
Yeah, I'm ready to go. All right, Charlie, you want to rock this next one?
Oh my goodness! So this was me. I was responsible for at least posting this the other day. Something you didn't give me a link, so I'm just going to have to riff from it here. But there has
I didn't really have a link for this.
Yeah, there has been something suggested canonically. Don't really have a source for it that ObiWan Kenobi could be bisexual.
It's from the book.
It is from a book, and I said, I knew it was something canonical. I don't have any details here. The simple fact of the matter is, okay, so what? I mean, those who watch Clone Wars know that he had this wonderful and requited love affair with the Duchess Satine of Mandalore, and whatever circled back to might indicate that he had an attraction to someone of the male persuasion. So, but again, the Star Wars community
that are super mad about it. Like there are some people that are super mad about it.
Of course, there's no. It brooks no explanation because, of course, there are people who are super mad about it because of the Star Wars fan base, which I'm not going to talk about because that will not help the cause of this being a popular podcast about Star Wars to talk about the Star Wars fan base. However, Mark and I, other people who we feel enjoy our program, are all of similar thoughts. Again, I'm going to do my every single episode tie-in back to Star Trek. Infinite diversity, infinite combinations. The universe that we live in is filled with a multitude of wonders of variety. So what fits into your definition of whatever will never fit into the definition of something else. And it doesn't change the character if it changes the way you look at the character because of this offhanded whatever it is. Please. What is it? That's not what we do here. We're probably not for you. I doubt very much anyone listening to the sound of my voice would turn us off because we're saying, well, this is fine. I don't really think much of it. I don't really think much of it because it doesn't change how I feel about the character. I don't think really change any part of his journey or what he's done or going to do in other canon or non-canonical works in the future. So this kind of gives me a big shrug. I didn't read the story. If it was relevant to the story, I believe it was relevant to the story for a reason. But again,
And I think it's worth noting too, because all three of us are sort of like socially accepted norms. Like it's white dudes in these situations. It is, and it's really easy for us to find characters in mainstream media that we can connect with really directly, whether it's through appearance or experience or whatever, like outside of. And so
I got to throw a dart in my house and landed on 3 characters that look like me, talk like me, grew up the same way, and absolutely.
So with Star Wars, because we'll call a spade, The Rise of Skywalker was not very brave. The Last Jedi was a very brave movie. The Rise of Skywalker was not very brave. And Star Wars in general, because it doesn't have the same global popularity of other, like the Marvel franchises or the Transformers franchises, or some other things that, like, Star Wars is not tremendously popular in China because it's like Rogue One is functionally a movie about a terrorist cell performing a successful attack on a government installation where there's a bunch of people that just woke up to do their job and they got blown up
Gotcha.
because of this, right? And so, like, that perspective is something that is not part of the Western story, that is part of, like, that's how it's perceived in other countries. And so Star Wars has a global acceptance problem as compared to other types of movie franchises. And so because of that, there are certain things that Star Wars has not been very brave about depicting. And some of that is underrepresented sexualities or sexual preferences. Some of that is, underrepresented minorities and things like that. Star Wars is incredibly ableist, um, which there have been other franchises that have, like, much more effectively done. Like, think about Professor X.
Yeah.
Like, he's the most powerful mutant in the world, and he doesn't leave his wheelchair, and that's just like, that is, and Star Wars doesn't have a lot of that. Like, all of the characters that get disfigured, all the characters that have disabilities, things like that, like, technology makes it so that they're not broken. Right. And so, like, I really appreciate that they were brave enough with this book to provide that representation for people that, because, like, there's some 14-year-old that's reading that book. That's a really big deal for them. Rose Tico was an incredibly important character for my mother. And so, like, here in a little bit when we're talking about The Last Jedi, there's a whole bunch of stuff about that movie I love. The most significant thing about that movie is something that happened weeks after I saw it in theaters in a Target.
Okay.
Like, so I'm going to tell that story because I haven't done that story on TikTok or anything like that. I've done it in a couple of lives and things like that, but it'll be nice to be able to put it here.
I want to get to that story. So let's get to the last bit of news then, Charlie. Let's wrap up this news bit with
indeed. This it's funny. I have and Mark and I go a lot back and forth with some quasi good nature ribbing with our shared cosplay husband. That would be Todd Oxtra. He says, well, Star Wars and this thing and that thing, and it's just not really impressed me, and I'm not going to watch Andor. But it's funny. The first thing he does this morning in the group chat between myself and our shared college roommate John is, there's a new trailer for Andor, and I'm like, why is he sharing Andor news if he's not going to watch the show? So I was like, well, I'm excited about it, but Todd, why are you sharing this with us? Hates prequels, this and that. It's blah, blah, blah. It's long and boring. This trailer was spectacular. If you love Star Wars, you enjoyed seeing this. Mark, you and I have had this conversation. Todd, I love you, but be brave and just move on to something else. You don't have to continue to tell us that you don't like Star Wars. It's okay. Because Mark and I love Star Wars, and we watched this trailer, and we're pumped. We're bummed by the fact that it's getting pushed back 20 days, which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But really from a marketing standpoint, and I know both of you guys could appreciate this, I believe Disney Plus is obviously trying to leverage their lapsing subscriptions. If I just signed up to see X and X is over, what's going to keep me on board? Well, okay, now this Star Wars series is starting, so I guess I better let it ride. Now, for example, I signed up to Disney Plus back in 2018.
Yeah, when they did the deal, I did this.
When it was 3 years plus it was another year because I was a Verizon Wireless customer, and I'm never going to not be subscribed to this because they're going to continue to have content, and I'm just not going to watch it like a hawk so I can save $7. You know what I mean? But there are people out there that are like that, or they'll sign up just to see this thing or that thing. But anyway, outside of my Todd bashing, Todd, I love you. We've been friends for almost 30 years, but he's a grump. And he's very grumpy about Star Wars, particularly in the last several years. So it's okay. We will watch it for him. But Mark, here's the challenge. We can give him no feedback. Because he said, well, I'll watch it if people give me feedback. No feedback. All right? You got to be with me on this. Good. I'm going on record.
I'm with you.
But you know what? Mark, no feedback to him. He can't have any.
I'm just going to keep saying it's great. because
It's
that's
great.
all I say about anything.
It's great. I love it. It's great. It's amazing.
Great.
Yeah, you use my least favorite overused expression is that something
Great.
is,
Oh, it's
ama-
great.
is amazing. It's amazing.
I'm
Oh
wondering
my
if
god, it's so
they're
amazing.
if they're moving this had anything to do with Miss Marvel's reception. Is Miss
You think
Marvel?
so?
I'm a big Marvel fan, and I couldn't wait for Miss Marvel, but I didn't really start it until after Kenobi was
Because it
over because
bonked.
they both came out on the
Right.
same day. I
Right.
watched Kenobi first. I played with my kid all day, and then I passed out and forgot to watch Miss Marvel. And then I
Right?
was like, frig it. I'll just there's a couple more weeks of
Right.
Kenobi, and then I'll
Right.
just binge what's out for Miss Marvel,
Could be.
and I'll be ready to go for the finale. And that's what happened. And I friggin' loved Miss Marvel, but was not with it for those first few weeks.
Right, and
kind
that's
of binged it all at the end
and
got
this-
ready
yeah.
for the finale.
and this
and
This
program
moves
is gonna,
Andor
yeah.
farther away from She-Hulk's debut,
She-Hulk
right?
Yeah,
was
it'll-
She-Hulk gets
2 weeks beforehand,
Right.
and then
Right.
it was going to do the same thing. So if people got
Right.
hooked on She-Hulk and then Andor comes out, we're
Right.
excited for Andor, but
Right.
is Johnny
Yeah.
down the street who hasn't seen Star Wars since
Right.
Rogue One, isn't that the guy that died in Rogue One? I'm not going to watch that. Where's the
I wonder
hot
how this is
green
going to
chick?
end.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
The naysayer, the Todd extras out there, it's a prequel of a prequel of a prequel.
Jesus.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. So yeah,
I think pushing it makes sense.
space it out, let it breathe.
Yeah.
Plus, the day that
And
this came
trailer
out,
rocked.
the day that this came, or when the trailer came out, the day that this drops, April and I were talking about this because we watched it, an hour or so ago, and I said 3 episodes in the same day. If they're an hour each, we're going to try to cram in 3 episodes over breakfast and our morning workout before we both get started for our jobs. I don't know about that. So yeah, there can't be anything
Take the
else.
day off, dude.
Yeah, there can't be anything else in the way of that because you'll be watching, it'll be very intense because episode 1 will flow into episode 2 and you're like, at the, kind of at the corner of your
How many
of your
episodes
seat
are
there.
they doing for this?
Did they crank this one out to? I know that Daredevil, which was announced, is going to be 18. Is this going to be?
That's wild.
Is this no? But that's Daredevil. But is this going to be 12 or 16? It's over 3 seasons. This is a long. It's a longer arc, and again, I don't have it in front of me, but yeah, that information was disclosed. But it's certainly twice as long as the other programs that have been out in the in the 6 to 8 to 10 episode range. So.
Well, and the other ones, like Mando and Boba Fett and Kenobi were they were long movies because it was 2 episodes Act 1, 2 episodes Act 2, 2 episodes Act 3, season over. So it was it was a double feature, crammed into a mini series or whatever. I'm also wondering, this explains why they didn't do a trailer at Comic-Con like they did with all the Marvel properties and some of the Star Wars stuff. It's there were so many trailers that came out that day and setting up, and everything else. And so it makes sense that Disney was all right, we're going to wait till D23, push out more Star Wars stuff and that kind of thing. Cause Celebration didn't have a lot of information for us about this, and that's already gone. So there wasn't another, global event for them to push stuff until D23, which will be, even deeper. But
yeah,
right.
Very true. I'm excited either way. Sad for the delay, but
big deal. But yeah, it's okay because we're all still going to be here. We're not going anywhere. We're still going to be open to it. So yeah, so this will be good. I'm looking forward to it. The Rebellion Empire stuff has always been my jam in Star Wars. I know, Mark, you and I share an affinity for the X-Wing stuff. I know that we're not going to get necessarily this, but we're going to get a lot of plain white Stormies running around, and that's always something I dig. So I'm down.
Look like in this trailer, there look like some really cool fighter jet, space battle kind of stuff. I was surprised by that. I really thought this was going to be deep cover espionage kind of shit, and not as much kablooey in space, but
war movie.
Yeah, it kind of seems like there's a little bit of kablooey
war
in
movie
space.
TV show.
Kablooey
if they do Star Wars MASH. If they do that someday, Star Wars MASH, that would be special. Make some of that commentary. That would be right. Star Wars Ocean 11, Star Wars MASH. These are 2 things that I want. I've gotten Lone Wolf and Cub. I've gotten, every samurai trope that exists. We got Saving Private Ryan with Rogue One. We got the train heist with Solo. Ocean's 11, Star Wars Ocean's 11, Star Wars MASH.
Right.
That's my wish
Yeah.
list.
Nice.
Decent wish list for sure.
Gimme.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right. Well, let's get on. I'm still waiting for that story. So let's get on to the meat of the episode. Episode 8. This is The Last Jedi. We are talking about basically kind of, I mean, we're not going to break this down scene by scene. We're going to go through as we usually do with kind of, the story overview or what you guys thought about this story. That is a badass lightsaber that Alan just had out. That was
sorry.
awesome.
I'll bring it back in a second.
Always
trying to
when I'm
screw
not
you up.
looking at the screen. Oh, sorry. There you go.
So, really, I guess, what did you got?
Oh, Lord.
Jesus, that's cool. What is, wow. Is that like the dark ray?
This is like the Dark Ray. This is also like the Sentinels from Rebels.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, and it's that fold out.
The Jedi Sentinel.
It's got the latch, and it's 2 sets of electronics, so you can use it as like the single saber with the
lightsaber nunchucks. Oh my god!
Lightsaber nunchucks. Did you guys ever see that video they did with Bruce Lee with the nunchucks?
Oh yeah,
lightsaber.
That's great.
Unbelievable.
So, what did you guys think, Alan? This is one of your top 2 favorite movies. Let's kick this off with you. Why is this movie so darn special? What is it about the story? I guess first off,
God, there's so many things. All right, so the opening shot is the coolest space shot that has been in a Star Wars movie, where you're starting way up, and then it just follows it down, and it's really, really hard to demonstrate the 3-dimensionality of space in cinema. And it does it so well because it's like you're way up and you're expecting what we normally see from a Star Wars movie where it's like there's all this 3-dimensional space and all of the fleets are just like in a flat line like they're on the ocean instead of in space. And this just goes no. And then you go down and down and down and down and you get to the planet and you go down and down and down. And then you get to the base and everybody is running around because you're running out of time and shit's about to get real. And that was how we entered the movie. And that, like, I remember seeing that and going, holy shit.
Oh, things are going to go bad. That's my big takeaway from the whole film. I said, April, that I was watching it is shit is just, it looks like we could turn this around. Nope. Hey, this thing is going to, nope. Oh, no.
And cinematically, this is one of the most exciting Star Wars films.
It's so pretty.
Probably since Empire.
Pretty.
Like, it's so good. Every single shot is just
Empire takes place so much in space, and The Last Jedi takes place so much in space, right? And a lot of the other films take place very much on planets,
right?
And it's like having that
Earth
concept.
Wars. Right.
There are a lot of parallels. Like, people compare The Force Awakens to A New Hope all the time, but like there are so many parallels to this and Empire. But I love how every single parallel is flipped. And I think I've said this on the show before, but it's worth revisiting because I don't think I've said it for a while. There's the things that are flipped are like in Empire, I am your father. Puts an insane importance on who Luke's parentage was, where he came from. In this one, let's not talk about how they retcon it or anything else. You're nothing. Your parents were gutter trash.
You're nothing, but you're not nothing to me. It's such classic.
I loved it. I love
gaslighting behavior. You're not crazy to me, baby. Oh my god!
But even if he didn't add the to me part of it, it's just that she's nothing. She is nobody.
It summarizes characters in a wonderful way, right?
And I do love Rey Skywalker. I am not a Rey nobody person, but in the moment watching this, I understood what they were going for. I understood that you don't have to be from some sort of royal Jesus lineage to
space
Jesus,
space Satan,
save the galaxy. You can be space nobody and still be
save
Peter
the
Parker
world
with great responsibility and great power and whatever. And I love them for doing that. I've talked before about the salt looking like Hoth, but it's salt instead of snow. But that scene is every bit of that planet is just beautiful and beautifully done, with the red underneath and the Luke's battle there. Like, holy shit.
Right.
There are so many parallels.
I will say the one thing about all the space battles, and you're right, this was much more space star, if you were, than anything. Nothing about what seems to happen in space makes any damn sense. Holdo doesn't make any sense. You know, I'm going to do this thing, but I'm going to keep it crouched in the shadows, and I'm going to be grumpy, and I'm going to, because I'm in charge, I'm not going to tell anybody what's going on. And then the hyperspace tracking, and we're running out of fuel, and then I'm going to turn around and run it into everybody. But it's not that big V-wing thing, which is, I looked it up, I watched a video on YouTube, 33 miles wingtip to wingtip. It's too big. Just all the space stuff was just a little out of control for me. You know what I mean? Finn was able to blow up all the surface guns, and then they have the bomber fleet comes in. Where the hell do they come from? Bomber fleet has no shields, so if one bomber goes off, it's going to fly into another bomber. All the bomber ships get blown up at the same time, except that last one. But you can only set off the bombs if you have the remote control. But if you drop it, there's essentially nothing you can do. Just none of the space stuff works for me in this film. I'm sorry. I've gone full extra. I'm sorry.
Were you or have you ever been? Were you ever like a World War II movie fan, like from that era of Hollywood? Like Longest Day and.
As far as you talk, when you say that era, meaning obviously back in the 50s and 60s, closer to when the war happened, or I was thinking more Saving Private Ryan, The Thin Red Line. You're thinking
like before, like because there's a whole like once upon a time, World War II movie was a genre rather than a historical piece, right? And so like there's like a whole bunch of the stuff that you were just like, oh, there's this and da 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 da, and it's like, no, these are all World War II movie tropes.
Mm.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
The general and the hotshot, and because the purpose of the hotshot's arc is to learn that they don't understand shit as well as they do. Like, they're really good in a plane, but then as soon as they are in charge of planes is where it falls apart. And so then they butt heads with the general, whose job is the war rather than the dogfight. And some other things like that. And that was like, and so like the Holdo Poe thing, like it was that trope, right? The bomber run is the bombing scene of, Red Tails and Tuskegee Airmen, and like all of the times that there's been like the fleet of B-17s or B-25s or whatever, and they're flying over Germany, and there's Messerschmitts and there's flak, and it's all going to shit and everybody's dying. And then there's that one person that is able to struggle to the back of the plane before they go and hit the button and drop the bombs on the target. So then the mission's a success, even though every single fucking person died. Like
the Memphis Belle, which was a great movie from the 90s that I loved about that exact same thing. But yeah, troporific, like it couldn't go wrong and everything goes wrong. So yeah, it was, yes, troporific, agreed. But I'm like, it was, you know what? It was a directional shift. It was something different for Star Wars. And I think we all know, and then maybe I'm falling victim to this as well, is that Star Wars fans don't like, I don't know,
watching
anything.
The bad guys win. Oh, yeah.
They don't like anything that's remotely, Han, Luke, and Leia, and we're in the Falcon, and that's just all they care about. So, yeah, I fell victim to my own prejudice about this being an OT fan, is that I'm like, why are they troping it up so heavy? And, why does this movie spend so much time?
Luke is grumpy. Why is Luke grumpy? I'm not grumpy. What do you mean?
Yeah. You know what? But I'll tell you, and I'm not as old as Mark Hamill is by any stretch of the imagination, but I fucking get him. Because I'm 46 and a half years old and my back hurts and I got the thing with my neck and I broke my knee once, and when it rains, it feels bad. And, and I don't have the damn force. You know what? I got a life full of regrets too. I've been divorced twice. I have, a kid I don't talk to who's an adult. I understand regret. So I really get Luke, where a lot of people are like, you ruined my childhood. What? No, Luke is a fully formed actual adult who's gotten his balls kicked by life. This is what happens. This is Luke being really real.
Kenobi did it too.
Yeah.
Let me hit you.
He was a lot younger.
Let me hit you with a thematic thing, and then the next time you rewatch it, this may or may not like really, really flip it. Okay, so Rose Rose is the delivery system of the most important message of the movie. It is not destroying what we hate; it is saving what we love. Every time a character makes a choice to destroy what we hate instead of save what we love, like when that's the motivating factor, it goes horribly wrong. Poe disobeys orders to attack the dreadnought because it's a fleet killer. We're not going to get another chance like this. We got to destroy this now. We're not going to get another chance. When they're in as good a position as they could have been to get away. They could have saved what they love, but they chose to destroy what they hated, and the price was astronomical and horrible. And so like everywhere in the movie where somebody decides to destroy what they hate instead of save what they love, when they're motivated by the dark side versus motivated by the light side, that's where it goes wrong.
Right. Yep. And I had a new revelation watching this. Apparently, in the Resistance, the chain of command is so informal that if you get demoted for bad behavior, you get slapped first. Slap, you're demoted. I'm like, that's, I wasn't in the military myself, but I have a lot of background with my father, my brother, and other people I've known. And I don't think that's what happens when you fuck up and you get, you go to the brig or something, you don't get slapped. And it's basically your mother saying, well, I'm very disappointed in you. That's what that whole scene was. Yeah. It's like, be best. Be best.
I always like, even without understanding the film tropes and what kind of references they were making, I always liked seeing Poe get knocked down a peg because of how much I loved him. And you want to think, and a lot of people think, that they're the main character and that you need to know everything.
Main character syndrome is a thing.
Don't need to know everything. And like seeing one of those main characters, like, no, dude, like, you're not upper management. You are a cashier. Go man your cash station and like
go stack boxes in the mail. Go stack these soup cans. There you go. Get out of here.
Like if you've, like you don't need to know everything.
And one of the things that is a reason that I love the movie, martial arts instructor for coming up on, I'm at 25 years now. Anyway, but there's a lot of yin and yang imagery throughout the movie, and so like. And so Yang, it gets kind of summarized by Kylo when he's trying to persuade Rey. You have to kill the past. Like, it's not just that you have to overcome it; you have to destroy it. Like, you have to create the reality. You can't accept it. You have to make it be what you want it to be. That's very Yang. Rose's sister, who is the bomber, the little necklaces,
right. Yeah.
Rose is yin, her sister's yang, and so like the yang action is the active action, and a lot of times when Westerners talk about yin and yang, when they talk about the Tao, they talk about good and evil, but it doesn't work that way. It's creation, destruction. It's like all this stuff, and we hear light and dark, and we think, oh, it's good and evil, positive and negative. Oh, it's good and evil, and it's like, no, like there's not birth without death. Because if nobody ever dies, then that becomes a problem. And if nobody's ever born, that becomes a problem. It's a cycle, right? And so, like, if you've got too much yang, if you're trying to destroy what you hate, that causes problems. And so there's all these times where, like, the yang pops up before bad shit happens, or in the process of bad shit happening, right? And then
that kill the past. That's one I'm. Dealing with a long-term friendship recently that ended, and it's just trying to kind of it's peeking its head back up, and I'm keeping seeing that line and seeing that gif, kill the past, let it die, getting this bad influence further and further away from me, and not trying to continue in this kind of negative dichotomy I had going
in the toxicity, or the
codependence
or whatever it is.
Trying to push it loose. It's tough because someone who I was very close with for a long time, but things just went cattywampus in the friendship, and it just doesn't work anymore. So I have to.
Plus, we do a podcast together.
Yes. Whoa, shit! Come on. You don't have to air our dirty laundry here in front of a guest, for God. And all the people who listen to our show. Come on,
you're welcome, internet. But there's
I'm sorry, Charlie. I don't mean to make light of
I'm gonna go cry. I'm gonna go cry into the table over here. No, I'm good.
And that's so like too much yang is a problem, too much yin is a problem. The right balance is right, because if you have a relationship, a friendship, a codependency, whatever, like, somebody that isn't trying to handle their own shit, and so then it becomes your problem by association, stuff like whatever, right? Like, sometimes you have to actively protect yourself from that. You can't just sort of let it wash by you in certain situations. You have to actively do something, and that's yang, and that's not a bad thing, right? And because too much yin that's what got the Jedi screwed in the prequels. They were too passive. They were too patient,
Hmm.
and that was the reason why Palpatine was able to set the chessboard and then achieve what he needed. And so that's like from The Last Jedi, like getting to see the opposite side of that. Because most of the time in Star Wars, the side that's being more aggressive is the side that ends up winning. Like, it's in the original trilogy, the rebels are very like, they're always on the run, except it's like, no, this is our chance to strike, and we're going to strike
Mhm.
with overwhelming force, and da 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 da, right? And the prequels is all like Palpatine, like, no, we need this piece right there, we need this piece right here, and king me,
Yeah.
like, yeah. And so, like, with this one, I was like, oh no, it's this is the other side of that coin. You get screwed instead of like, um, and that's one of the other things I love about the movie, is because it has a message that is really hard for Westerners to like accept.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, but I want to try hard and be the hero. Poe, every time you do that, people die. No, but
Yeah.
I'm going to try really hard.
Yeah. Next time I'm gonna try harder.
Could they change the movie to Try Harder? Try harder with a vengeance. Try harder on the 4th of July. Live free or try hard.
Yes.
The one in Russia was Try
That's-
Hard 5 Russia stuff. I don't know. I mean,
Something,
shit, I
whatever.
don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. That's alternate timeline.
It's the
name for
legacy of Bruce Willis. Try harder.
Star Wars.
You know what?
Try
Star Wars
Harder.
Die Hard. We're going to add that to the list.
Star Hard. Whoa, hold on.
That'd be
Pretty
okay.
sure that movie already exists.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, Rule 34. I know.
Let's go through. Actually, you know what? There's a great time for. We already kind of answered one of famous Seamus's questions that he asked on Discord. He asked about what our thoughts on the delay was for Andor and the new trailer. So we covered that, but I really wanted to get to his second one. So Seamus, thank you for writing these two in. Do you guys think The Last Jedi got better or worse as the years go on? And how do you feel, especially after The Rise of Skywalker? Do you think it got better or worse? Charlie, I'm going to start with you on this one, because I think you're the most negative maybe on this movie. So have you kind of warmed up with this as it's
I
going?
think, I talked in our last episode about how much I love The Last Jedi and how exciting it was sitting in that last row of that theater when we got there 2 hours early because we wanted to get a great seat. That excitement, and then just the build up, the potential of, at the end of it, she's standing next to Luke Skywalker, reaching out her outstretched hand, and at the end of it, he just takes the saber and goes "Ugh," and walks off. For shock value, yes, but like I was saying a little bit earlier, looking at the fact that, we saw Luke Skywalker in, the Return of the Jedi, and he was 24 years old, and he was young, and he saved the universe, and blah, blah, blah. And now he's, 54, 65 years old. However, I'm not doing that Jedi math, but he's old. And he's grumpy as shit. You know what? He's fucked up. He put himself in exile because everything that he built, a lot of people died over it. He screwed up. He was so terrified by thinking he couldn't control what was in Ben Solo, and then the corruption, that he said, he said, I was, a moment of weakness. I was left with shame and consequence. And that's real life. When you fuck up, do something around your kids. And I hope that I've not done anything to really screw mine up. I could say something different about my ex-wives, but I would like to think that I've always spoken honestly and kind of shot from the heart and tried to do what's best, but we all screw up. We don't screw up to the standing over a sleeping kid with an ignited lightsaber screwed up, but
that's a special level of screwed up.
That's a special level of screwed up that doesn't usually. It does not happen in the Milky Way galaxy that we're aware of. But, the message is universal. And, as we get older, and again, we're now 5 years removed from this film. It came out in 2017. A lot of different shit has happened in my life where there have been stuff out of my control, things I could have done differently, bad stuff happened to me. I had, my son died 2 years ago, my youngest son at age 13, after a lifelong illness. It teaches you about how life can harden you, and you make the choice. Again, I'm going to break out another Star Trek quote because it really fits in the original pilot, The Cage. Jeffrey Hunter, Captain Pike, actor whose name I forget, played Dr. Boyce. The doctor says this great line when the two of them are talking. He says, a man either, and I'm going to be misquoting it even though I wrote it.
Yeah, whatever. Paraphrase is good.
Yes. A man either meets life head on, licks it, or turns his back on it and starts to wither away. That's what Luke chose to do. He just chose to, he chose to pussy out and go hide in a cave instead of like, hey, you know what? There's evil that needs to be fought. I'm going to go fight it. I'm going to, he quit. It was too much for him. So you know what? That's the most human that we've ever seen Luke. He wasn't doing anything super heroic when he went and hid in a cave. That's what a lot of people would do. I screwed up. I can't face it. I can't face my own foibles. I can't deal with my own failure. I'm going to run and hide and just let things be. And well, look what happened when he went let things be. And, well, Starkiller Base blew up the Republic, this thing and that thing. And, Luke, where were you? Oh, yeah, you were hiding in a cave like a bitch, milking the thingy to get the green milk. Dude, he finally does the right thing. But it had to take Rey going there and browbeating the shit out of him to finally get him to step up. So, you know what? To be honest with you, I've now talked myself all the way around to it. And look at this. Haven't had a drop tonight. Decided not to drink. Unlike last week, I was toasted. But my clear thinking of this is that this is the most humanized we've seen of Luke. He makes a noble sacrifice, but he doesn't do it out of a legacy of being a great guy. He makes out a legacy of being a jerk and being shamed into it and finally figuring his shit out and doing what's necessary to make sure that the rebellion can survive. So in the end, he really is a hero, even though he starts out as a grumpy old dick.
And so have you come around on this film like Luke came around at the end?
Yeah. Except for the space shit, which is just, and not realizing that I disliked it because of my, being a Star Trek fan, I'm no stranger to tropes. And I didn't realize just how tropey it was. And that's why I hated it. So that's very educational to me. That's why it's so educational to me. But now I know why I hate it. So why I'm like, just, spare the space shit and let's just do like the throne room fight was great. The stuff on Crate was great, but all the tropes I'm like, it feels like that's why I can't watch the Orville because it's, what 5 Star Trek plots can we cram into one episode of the Orville? It's tropey. I can't deal with it.
And it's hard when I read this question and like, has it gotten better or worse? Because I liked it the first time. I loved it the first time I saw it. I came out of that theater like just great, and then you go on the internet and people are kind of like, yeah, poo-pooing on it or whatever. Like I didn't like this.
I was made to feel like I had seen a completely different movie from some people. Right. I have loved The Last Jedi since I walked out. I still remember somebody having a very, very, we'll go with rude tone of voice with me. When they expressed how mad they were that Yoda had burned the Jedi texts, and I was like, "Dude, Rey stole them." No, she didn't. Yeah, they're on the Falcon. No, they're not.
She did. She put them in the hidey hole. Come on, bro.
Exactly. Go back. Finn finds them when he's looking for a blanket for Rose, and the person called me a liar and said that I wasn't paying attention, and all this other stuff, and I was just like. My face. That person's face was as red as Darth Maul. Oh, it was one of those things where it's just like I saw a different movie than you. Like that is functionally what happened. We could have been in the same theater, 3 seats apart. We saw a different movie, and that's okay. I don't need you to love it, but you're telling me that I'm not a Star Wars fan because I did, and I got nothing for you, homie. Like,
I'm hearing some
too.
tones of Journey's separate lives here. Oh,
Yeah,
someday
like-
love will find you.
It's those little moments. It's those little moments that I love because it's once again we get to see like troll Yoda
Mhm.
just being like,
I love
I'm
that
gonna
scene
get,
so
I'm
much.
gonna
I
get
love that
this
scene
kid one more
so
time. Like
much.
he knew there's
Right.
0% chance that Yoda
The
didn't know what
Jedi
Rey's
text.
going
He's
off
like,
with us.
Oh, yeah.
hamina, hamina, hamina.
Mhm. Yeah. All right,
And he
Skywalker.
did.
I'm gonna let you play with this for a second.
He
Just
did.
watch
And
this
he- you know,
tree burn.
That was
This is
his
Yoda
own.
being
That
a
was his.
troll.
Yeah, that was his own way of killing the
I
past.
loved it.
Like he and Kylo, had a little text chain going on. They say, "Oh, let's punk Luke. Ooh, this is what
Mhm.
we're gonna do. Punking with the ghost."
And Kylo has to kill the past because it's his guilt and his shame.
Right.
Kylo needs to kill the past because he's got to destroy what he hates. Yoda has to destroy the past for Luke because it's an anchor that's holding him back.
Right, because that's when he decides to act right.
It's
That's when
this-
he gets his shit together.
Because so like that conversation where Yoda and Luke sit down together, like I wept in the theater. I have been both people in that conversation more times than I can explain. I have been the person that's like, no, Master, you don't understand. I fucked up. Like I fucked up so bad. There's no coming back from this. I don't. And then my instructor's like, dude, you fucked up lots of times. You've been here since you were 11. I've seen it.
Mhm.
Okay,
Right.
like you have fucked up a lot.
Mhm.
We have classes in 30 minutes. You need to get your shit together because you have to teach. Like
You're gonna hash it out. You're gonna fail your way through it. I'm in sales. I have been my entire professional career, and you
Like,
fail your way forward. That's
stumbling in.
all you do. Fail your way forward.
I got
and
this
so,
iPad.
like-
Sorry. Go ahead.
but like that, like I've been both of those people, and I have had the student that is like, no, Master Allen, like I messed up so bad. I don't think I can ever da 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 da. And it's like, dude, you're 16. Assuming you're gonna live to be 80, you are gonna have so many fuck ups bigger than this. Like it's
man.
hard for me to put it into context for you.
Call it whether FUPM, fuck ups per minute. Get ready
Yes.
for it when you have children, or when you get married, or just when you date or live with someone. Just get ready for the fuck up train to leave the station. It's coming.
I got this iPad that I use for my like show notes and stuff. Just after, I think, or maybe right before Finn was born. So on the back of it, I got it engraved, and I don't know if
it's a
anyone
typo,
on
isn't
screen
it?
can see it.
It's blurry. It's a typo, isn't it?
Is it?
No, it says FN 2187.
Oh, I like it.
And then underneath, and that's for my son Finn. And then underneath is a quote from that scene: "We are what they grow beyond."
Oh, delightful.
God, I love
Delightful.
One of my favorite Star Wars lines ever spoken in that one scene, that one line. It's
Agreed.
so great.
Oh, and the crescendo
It is,
of that music
so
that
amazing.
follows that out. That's one of the best moments they have in the Star Wars films. I will agree with you there.
Yeah. So we are kind of starting to run a little long. So
Yes.
I do want to run past a couple of things very quickly.
I will
Favorite
be
characters?
brief the next times.
And no worries. I love the explanations. I'm actually learning a ton about like cinema and this kind of stuff. And I've taken a couple of cinema classes, so this is very interesting to me. Anyway, favorite characters, Alan.
This is going to
Like
be a
new
long one.
character maybe in this one.
This is going to be a long one. Rose Tico is one of the most important Star Wars characters that has ever been in Star Wars for me.
I was hoping someone would say that.
3 weeks
So
after
thank
we
you.
saw this movie, my mom and I were in Target. And so for those of you that don't know, I am quarter Japanese. And so my grandmother's originally from Okinawa. She met my grandfather when he was stationed in Okinawa during the Korean War. My mom and my sister obviously look, like they have Asian descent. I look like me. But so I have not had what would be the traditional Asian American experience because I'm obviously I'm white presenting. But there have been a lot of things that are a part of an Asian American experience that I've experienced either through witnessing them happen or, stories from my mother. And so we were in Target, and at the end cap in Target, there was a little Rose Tico Funko Pop. My mom does not my mom kind of she collects shit, but she doesn't collect nerd shit. right? So like I'm looking over your shoulder, and it's like you've got the figures, you've got the buckets, you've got Captain America's shield. There's a Star Trek Catan, which I did not know existed, and now I'm super curious.
Really, right here.
Yeah, that one.
That's the one. Yeah, it's still shrink wrapped. It's a whole thing. We're trying to get the people in our chapter to get together to play it, but I don't know anything about it.
But like my mom stopped, and she just had to look at it for a minute, because my mom hasn't had an Asian American woman in a premier franchise that wasn't like that had a narrative responsibility, that wasn't a trope.
Mm.
One of the few things in this film that might not have been a trope.
I mean, there are a bunch of things in the final act that aren't tropes. Like that's the thing.
Right.
It's like the first 2/3 of the movie is like super trope heavy, and then you get to the last third, and because like they set you up with all these tropes, then that's where all the subversion happens, right? But so it's like she's not a stereotype. She's not the math nerd or the martial artist or whatever. Like Rose Tico is a character that happens to be Asian, and that character that has a lot of like there are like visual things that connect her to my mom as well. Like there's aspects of them that look very similar and stuff like that. And so there's a Funko Pop that looks a lot like my mom in Target for a Star Wars movie. And so then we had to start walking faster because she was going to cry.
Oh wow!
And that, that is not an experience that a white presenting white dude is going to connect with or have had or understood without something like that. And so like when I talk about The Last Jedi, I've talked about this in lives a couple of times and some other things, but like this is one of the first times I've been recorded telling this story. And so like for a while there, every Christmas, it's like, all right, what Rose stuff exists? And so every Rose thing that exists, everything, mom's got like a little shelf. There's 2 Funko Pops. There's a Black Series figure, and there's like, a 6-inch figure. And there's like, there were these blind bags with these things that are like this freaking tall. She's got that one too. There's these little toys that I can't remember what they're called, but like the arms swap out.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about.
I had to buy a big set that had like 9 characters in it, but she's got that one. Because, right. And so like that, Rose Tico is forever going to be one of the most important characters in The Last Jedi for me, and is simultaneously one of the reasons why I have a lot of vitriol for The Rise of Skywalker.
Right. Yep. Total discounting. All right. Yeah. Let's try. Like Mark was saying, let's try to wrap it up. So where were we? I think we went really out of sequence.
Favorite characters,
Mark.
You guys need to do favorite characters.
Yeah, favorite characters. I you know what? I'm gonna agree with Rose as far as new characters that were introduced. I think this is the start of Finn being kind of sidelined, even though he was kind of put with Rose and they were sent on this mission. But I wanted him to kind of continue with Rey and maybe do some training too, but I still appreciated what they did with Finn in this one, but again, not a new character. So I'm gonna say Rose as well. I really appreciated her, and the line that you said earlier of her role and the cusp of this movie, saving, not destroying what we hate, saving what we love is I thought that was so poignant and important, especially like you said with a lot of stuff that goes on in Western culture that is we've got the biggest gun, so we win. It's like, well, not always if everyone's not around to see the victory. So same answer. Yeah, Charlie.
And again, focusing on new characters,
and you don't necessarily have to. That's just what I did.
There's nobody who ever really takes a swing at anything to drive the story forward the way that she does. Like you've said, you're seeing her reflections upon everything, but for her relationship with her sister and how that drives things forward. Her, admiration of Finn and then how she despises Finn. And I don't think Finn has got a great story arc in this film, but we'll just kind of leave that alone because he's kind of running away like a little weasel. But she zaps him, which I think is awesome. Their experience on Canto Bight is kind of interesting. And then at the end of it, she, throws herself on the fire for him. But like I said, and like you had mentioned in the Rise of Skywalker, that just completely gets thrown out. So this was her time to shine, and I think she made the most of it. So yes, I will laud her the same prize. I agree.
And
Favorite?
I loved Haldo. Have you guys read or seen anything about the original script for Episode 9?
Mm-mm.
Yes.
Okay. I am not thinking of anything now.
I remain to this day. So the two things that frustrate me the most about The Rise of Skywalker is that Finn's original intended arc for the 9th movie was abandoned basically entirely. Because they set it up so well in The Last Jedi. Finn is supposed to go on to help First Order people defect like he did.
Mm-hmm.
And then the giant force of them is the cavalry in the third act that saves the heroes.
Yep.
Like all of it, right?
And so that was what a waste. What a waste.
And especially because
artwork of him with a lightsaber.
And because Finn's moment in Rise of Skywalker or in The Last Jedi when he's charging the gun, when he's making that run at the ram cannon, he is there to destroy what he hates. He's been afraid of the First Order. He's been very motivated by that. And then that converts into anger in that moment. Rose saves him from it. And so then his third act in Episode 9 is supposed to be like having risen above those things into this powerful, actualized leader of people that had been through the fear and the pain and the anger and all that stuff. And the fact that we got robbed of that is so frustrating. Cause as soon as I read about that, like when I was reading through the script, I was just like,
yeah. And I didn't hate The Rise of Skywalker. I enjoyed it for what it was, but knowing what it could have been always frustrates me because it's so much better. But I try to still enjoy the movie when I watch it.
Yeah, all my problems with it are like outside the film itself. Like it's it's not like the film is fine. It's a greatest hits album. It's a very good one. And anybody that really really loved it, I do not want to diminish your joy for it. And so I realize it probably sounds that way, but
Well, I'm going to kick this one off,
and we will get to that next time in our next episode.
Yeah. So I'm going to kick this one off. Favorite scenes, I have to say the Kylo versus Luke fight, I think still tops it for me. The throne room fight. The throne room fight is great. It's cinematic as hell. There's a few inconsistencies of like a knife disappearing and some weird things that if you watch it a couple of times, you're like, why didn't he just stab her there? Or like, why didn't this just like, that's just some sloppy choreography. But it's still a very fun.
No. Okay, go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish.
Okay. It's still a very fun fight to watch, but there is a knife that disappears.
So, True.
It's weird.
Are you worried about the spot in the Revenge of the Sith fight scene where all of a sudden Kenobi's holding the wrong lightsaber against Anakin's face?
Yes.
Whoops.
Always.
Why?
No, just
not so much.
I'm just saying,
nobody gives a shit about that.
No.
Like nobody does. Nobody cares about that. And it's a more glaring editing mistake, but nobody gives a shit about that. But everybody brings up the disappearing knife. Whatever.
Very much so. No, and I notice those things because when I rewatch these, I pick out weird little inconsistencies, like the swapping lightsabers, or I was the weird kid watching Indiana Jones on VHS when I was a kid and spotting the snake's reflection in the glass when he drops down into the temple.
Right.
And there's the cobra staring at him, and I like
this isn't scary
my VCR. Because I'm that weird kid that like watches frame by frame, so I just noticed some weird shit. But I love the throne room fight, like regardless of the weird inconsistencies of a couple of like weird scenes or like editing or whatever.
When you got a set piece of choreography
so
that big, like it's like there's going to be stuff. There's no way around. Like the Force kick and Return of the Jedi.
But but even with all the stuff going on in that throne room fight, I still love Kylo versus Luke. That is just, to me, like, so perfect, so good. What about you guys? Favorite scenes?
Yeah, I'm gonna
Sure.
gonna second that one without a doubt.
Okay. All right.
In the case of the throne, but yeah, the sheer emotion and kind of the emotional ramifications of that duel between Projecto Luke and Kylo, and what that means for his character, and how that that's an extra snap in it's an extra nail in the coffin for that guy. Is pretty intense.
And Luke never throws a strike.
No, he dances. He was kung fu fighting. You appreciate
beautiful. I've done that to some of my students. Okay. So anybody that watches the throne room fight and is like, man, this isn't real, I've got super bad news for you about every Star Wars fight ever, with possible exception to the really boring one in A New Hope.
Yeah.
If there's a lightsaber fight that lasts longer than 6 seconds, it's super not real. Somebody made a stupid choice to allow the fight to continue so that it could be longer than 6 seconds. And the only reason why you don't notice it is because you're not a martial artist. And so that's just like, that's the price of entry. Like, and so if you want it to be real, then there's not a single fight scene you have ever liked that was. And so then it's actually a preference of aesthetic and not a preference of reality. If you have never watched the original trilogy and the fight scenes with Vader, and actually we get to see it in the Kenobi show as well, because of the costume, because of the cowl, Vader can't lift his hand above his face. And so all the choreography, his hand is basically shoulder height or lower, and it's a lot of single hand, because if he puts both his hands together, it's got to be even lower, and so his mobility is even more restricted. In Empire Strikes Back, they do a great job hiding that from the camera, that like Vader is just sort of like going four corners because that's all he can do. And if you're not a martial artist, you look at it and it's like, oh man, Vader's toying with him. And if you're a martial artist, you watch this guy that's moving really, really woodenly, and you're like, oh man, they had to work so hard to hide the fact that this dude could barely move. Like, just because the way that he has to turn and some other stuff, it's like he is a wooden man holding a lightsaber. Like this is that scene in every Jackie Chan movie where he's like, bah, 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 except Vader's the wooden man.
Wood on top of wood.
Yeah, and that's the like, and so like a lot of the lightsaber fight scenes have been relatively simplistic choreography and not a whole lot of stuff going on. When you think about the big set piece fight scenes we have, there's the beginning of Return of the Jedi, and like there's not a whole lot of like even the big droids and Jedi in Attack of the Clones. It's really just like two mushes of people that kind of like squish together, and then it pans away, and then all of a sudden the Jedi are surrounded. Like there's not like really big complex scenes. And so like the throne room fight in The Last Jedi is the most ambitious fight choreography that a Star Wars movie has ever had. And it's stylized in a way that some people don't like the aesthetic. And if it's not your thing, that's fine. That's cool. If that's a bad fight scene because it's not real and the Revenge of the Sith fight scene is your favorite one, then that's where it's like, well, wait a second. Because they recycle a bunch of choreography to make it fight longer, and they film it from a different direction so you don't notice, but they're just doing the same crap. It's just really long.
Fair.
The Kylo thing that both of you guys brought up, if you got anybody that hasn't seen this, the strikes that Rey is practicing on the rock over next to Luke is the same way that Kylo attacks Luke. And so if you haven't watched that, I've seen a couple of people do like a supercut where they put them side by side so you can see it. But so like the strikes that Rey is doing there that's how Kylo attacks Luke. And that connection between the two of them, like the thing that they did for the dyad in the next movie, but like just like all the foreshadowing that happens throughout the movie, is like it's really, really cool that they connected those in that way. And that makes the Kylo fight that much cooler to me, that like they showed us how it was going to go.
Yeah.
Like,
I love that. I mentioned on the last episode, Alan, I don't know if you listened to the last one, but I mentioned that people have a problem with how quick Rey picked everything up. And I said, well, that's because she's a dyad. And when she got close to Kylo, she downloaded everything that he's ever learned, like the Matrix, and they connected. So she knew instantly all of his stuff. So that mirror and choreography just picked up from the Force Awakens of like, nah, there's a connection here. Like they're doing the same shit now. Like it's
And
that's awesome.
the throne room fight has that cool moment, and the Reylos love it because they're like back to back, and Rey's got her hand sliding down, right? And so like that scene where they physically make a yin yang with their bodies is also like the way that fight scene, the story of it goes, because they start apart, and then the way they fight, they gradually like kind of twist together. And that is where they do the most just like absolute wreck shit destruction. And then they separate again. And it's like it's the story of those characters where it's like, this is how good it could be if they were together. Yeah. This is how awesome this could be if they were together. You don't get to have that because this is Star Wars and we don't do happy. There aren't happy endings in Star Wars. There are only dark victories.
Yep. Righty, right. Well, Mark.
Yes, sir.
Let's keep it moving.
All right. Yes. For the last bit, I'm gonna combine kind of this. Basically, let's hear your rankings for this movie, and like how important it is. Alan, we already know this is in your top 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Super important. Story wise, emotional for you. Like, what's
this has a lot to say. And so, like, George Lucas has had a lot to say with his movies, and a lot of the new trilogy, the sequel trilogy, didn't have a whole lot to say. Like, The Force Awakens didn't really have something it was trying to communicate to us. The Rise of Skywalker didn't really feel like it had, something other than like the "there are more of us" moment. That's really like the lesson that it has. So like the messaging from The Last Jedi, because George Lucas has never been shy about having something that he was trying to say. And he has been scathing in his opinions of politicians and all manner of things, and what he believes to be, what is right and good and true in this universe and whatever. And so the fact that The Last Jedi was very, very pointed in its theme and who the bad guys were and what it had no patience for.
Very important. Charlie.
Golly, I struggle with this one. Certainly because of our somewhat quasi shared disdain for what comes after it. I was less happy with it when it came out than I am watching it this time and thinking about Luke and his journey and how tethered, how tied back he was. So that for me exponentially shot this one up in the rankings. But yeah, the 2/3 worth of movie tropes before it kind of drags it backwards for me. So it still ends up somewhere in the middle of the pack. The prequels for me still being pretty much at the bottom. So this might be dead middle for me if I was to put all
that's your fulcrum.
all 11 films together. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I would rank it probably higher middle, maybe, because I love the original trilogy, and even there are scenes and moments of this movie that obviously I have one imprinted on an iPad that I got. Like there's things of this that I would have tattooed on my body, that I live by, that it's important. So I don't know if it's hitting, excuse me, my voice is starting to go. Here we go. I don't know if it's hitting that top 3 kind of thing, but it's, I'd say higher middle-ish kind of thing. And if I had to rank them all, and I'd have to think about that, but I do think it's very important for what it did and what it does and how much it changes up the formula of a Star Wars movie. So, so I think that's it. Let's wrap it up.
Yes.
Alan, thank you so much for joining us. You have one more lightsaber to show off, so let's show that off. This is
it. This is
that's the one. Okay, I
okay.
figured that was the one, but that's awesome.
So the Lego Saber disc and then some other things as well are going to be hitting the site in the next couple of weeks as I get caught up on some of my communication backlog and can throw time at getting items created. But
Very
yeah,
cool.
so that's finally going to be available. That's one of the things that people request the most. There may or may not be an Inquisitor saber going up as well.
Oh my!
Fancy.
Oh my goodness! Well, it's got to do better. It's got to do better than HasLab, which we've talked about ad nauseum. Woo! We're not even going to get started. No, we trust me. This is already twice as long as any episode we've ever had. But you know,
I'm sorry.
It's time well spent. It's
great.
okay. It is
Alan,
what it is.
Tell people where they can find you and where they can follow you on the internet, please.
So the shop is levelupsabers.com, and if you are if having a saber will bring a joyness to your heart place, then what I recommend is you follow the social media links for our friends here that provided this podcast. Because if you follow the link and make purchases that way, it helps support the pod. And if you guys are active enough in doing that, then they might have me back, even as verbose as I was. And so that would be awesome. Please follow me.
Only with the stopwatch.
Only, fair enough. We'll get the hook. It'll be all right. I am Level Up Light 1 on TikTok. I am also Level Up Light 2 because I occasionally earn hush hush no nos by showing
Who doesn't on TikTok,
sword on TikTok. Anyway,
yeah.
Level Up Light on Instagram, and I don't remember what my Twitter is. Please don't. Star Wars Twitter is not.
Yay?
Oh yeah, Kung Fu Yay. Star Wars Twitter is someplace that I spent 5 minutes on once upon a time and decided that was 4 minutes too long. But since I have a business and I need to be present on social media, I'm trying very hard. But
yes,
Star Wars
great to have you on
Twitter
there.
Oh my god,
it can be a good space. You just need to hit the block button a few dozen times first.
Oh my god,
that's all. It's coming around. It is coming around. Charlie.
Ooh, rolling it away. You can find me over on Twitter at the C3 Spell It Out. My lovely wife April and I also run the USS Grand Petoskey. That is the West Michigan chapter of the International Starfleet Star Trek Fan Club. You can find us on socials at that name and at the website. Similarly, I also tried to put up all of our content over at the Secret Friends Unite Facebook communities. So keep your eyeballs when I have the time, when I'm not on the road. Sometimes when I am on the road, swerving all it's all for the craft, swerving all over the road, whatever it is I got to do.
And you can find me pretty much everywhere: TikTok, Instagram, here, there, everywhere at _Canardian. I'm gonna light my saber up too.
I'm fresh. I keep saying I'm gonna bring it down, but I don't. I don't have one of your fancy sabers. I have the store-bought kind.
Alan, thank you so much for joining us. This has been an absolute pleasure. I love that knuckle saber. That is so badass. Thanks for joining us once again.
I had a blast, guys. Thank you for having me. Hopefully we can do this again.
Yes, indeedly do. Friends, as always, thank you for joining us. I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring. Keep on trucking.
May the force be with you. Rex, play us out.
That's a lot out of me this time of night.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow at Secret Friends U on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.